on board with Joey Haynes right here, our current leader. It's all going to unfold right in front of them.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's like a video game. Well, I mean, I say that, but you know what I mean. It's just zipping past cars. It's like he's playing some arcade game there and just blasting past them one after another as they all wreck around him.
I mentioned how aggressive Hovdal was through the GTO traffic on the lap before, and here he's going to try to go around the outside, which he's already in the dirty air, and just barely hangs on to it. Bill with another poor exit out of turn one. You got to think the over-under has got to be coming at some point, but no. Neil Kemp's going to try the long way around turn two. What a battle here for the 6th place position. Neil Kemp has half a car over Bill Tyler, but they're going to take it side by side into the short break zone. This could be disaster right here, but Bill Tyler thankfully backs out of it.
Will he get both of these spots, or will it be Kimo or Gernot through the first corner, out of that one, and now it's going to be 3 wide as they come up to the next braking zone.
Watch Leno right here. He's going to have the best draft off the back of Kimo, but Gernot's going to take it wide around the outside. He's going to have great traction coming off of this corner.
Who's going to get the exit? That's going to be so critical. Oh, no, banging wheels.
We're almost to that point. Antonio Alvarez is 5 seconds back, so it's only going to be 4 cars. But my goodness, it's a 4-car fight now for the 7th position.
Oh no, this is too wide through the skid. This doesn't work well. Fabian Jungbluth is going to have to take a course cut. That's going to be a slowdown penalty. Aitor Sintes Galindo keeps on rocking. That's going to be Xavier Sanchez and Ross Banfield now taking it too wide on Aitor Sintes Galindo. He doesn't have a time to breathe out there.
Nobody has a time to breathe. Sintes Galindo fighting off the battle from Jungbluth. Now he's under pressure from Banfield. Xavier Sanchez looking on in the back, and Jungbluth is now caught up because of these guys going too wide. Everyone's a little slower right now. They've lost a full 1.5 seconds to Antonio Alvarez. Now it's almost going to be 3 wide into the braking zone for the next right-hander. And they make a little contact.
Just a little bit of contact puts 2 wheels of Banfield out on the dirt, and the defense of Aitor Sintes Galindo. Write this down. This is one for the ages, folks. He is still in that 7th position.
Suzuka was built as a test circuit, hence the unusual variety of corners and uncommon figure-8 layout. It's these unlikely origins that have made it notorious among racers as a true driver's test. And with tonight being a double points night, it's going to be an almighty task as we get ready to watch round 11 of the Porsche Owners Club series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Picturesque and storied, there's a lot to this Far East circuit. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degner's 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard? Well, Joey, we've talked about love and hate tracks before. Honestly, I think this is probably among them, that there's some drivers that love this place and others that just can't seem to grips to it.
It is a very, very technical racetrack, and it will punish you if you don't know it or overstep the limits here. In 17 turns, 3.609 miles in length, and several iconic areas around this racetrack, including the figure 8 design where you go over under just around the Degner bends. Also, you have Spoon Curve, a very interesting shape there, and probably the most iconic corner on the racetrack. 130R, these cars are going to be probably just barely lifting through those corners and leads into that Casio Triangle, one of the biggest and best passing opportunities on the racetrack. But Joe, you named it. It's a love-hate relationship with this place, and if you don't like technical racetracks, you just got to keep on swimming today.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. The drivers have complained a lot about how tough it's been in the weeks leading up. Now, it's also going to get complicated in the championship as well, because we don't have Tom Layton here. And right now he's leading the points, but it's double points tonight. And Michael Johnson has a good chance to try and take that points lead away. Now, unfortunately for him, he's not looking quick in qualifying. So maybe it's going to be instead Michael Bolton, who's actually been looking fast, but he's got a bit of an up-road hill to climb to try and overtake both of them for that top spot. Andrew Chinichi is back, but he's missed a number of rounds. He's honestly a far distant chance. In fact, I think he might be mathematically eliminated at this stage, but it'll certainly be interesting. As you can see, it's still a very, very tight fight all the way from 4th down to 8th place, where the slightest change can certainly alter the end of the story here. Now, as for today's race details, why don't we take a look at that, Joey?
Yeah, it's going to be 30 minutes on the track today, round 11 of 12, closing out the season here in the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. Everybody is in those same cars out there, and we are on a fixed setup, so it really is all about the drivers understanding what's underneath them and driving that technical racetrack.
And of course, this race is brought to you by Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Contact them today at GameChangerBR.com or over the phone at 225-664-2565. I was talking about the qualifying there for a bit. Well, Chinichi currently has the pole position, provisional pole position. Cigar Dewan has been looking very fast, but he's got half a second to make up. He does have 8 minutes left, and though it is a long lap, that should be enough time to try and put a few hot ones in here. We'll see what he can do. Michael Johnson is the one I'm worried about. He's known for not qualifying well, but he's all the way down in 7th, and he needs a good result today to try and get as far ahead of Tom Layton as he can, so that when we go to Motegi, he's in the best position possible.
Michael Johnson going down pit road. Wonder if he's just getting a new set of tires. Get back out there and try to get a few more flyers in on this racetrack. And right now, like you mentioned, Chinichi on provisional pole, as you see spin coming out of the final corner, and might be just kind of the combination of that car, Joe. You mentioned some of these drivers still coming to grips with this combination.
Yeah, this is a very raw car, and a few have complained about having to drive it this season, but some seem to have thrived here in this vehicle because it doesn't have a lot of assists in it. There's no ABS, there's no traction control. It's your foot and the throttle out there. And as we watch through the Degners, well, there's a perfect example right there, going a little bit wide down into the second Degner, and then out towards the hairpin is Cigar Dewan is going to try and improve on that half a second. He did go quicker last time, but he's only down to about 4/10 away from Chinichi, so still some more work to do here. And this lap not looking like a fast one for him right now. He's about a second and a half off, so maybe just setting up for another flyer here in a moment.
Had a big wiggle coming out of that hairpin, trying to put the power down, and he's through the spoon curve right now. Very interesting turn where you really carry a lot of speed going in, have to kind of bleed it out as you go through the turn, all while you're heading downhill, and it seems like the racetrack is always falling away from you there.
Yeah, I've always found it to be extremely tricky to get right each and every time, so Dewan gonna set himself up. Let's see if he backs off at all here into the Casio triangle just to try and get a better run on the front stretch, or is he still pushing hard here? Doesn't look like he's backing off, but he is going to be able to start a fresh new lap. No, he's not. He's coming into the pits, and maybe he also will be taking a set of fresh tires. Remember, it's fixed setup, so if they reset into pit lane, it fills it up with fuel. So you want to burn that fuel off as much as you can to get a nice light car.
Now, Joe, let me ask you this. Now, I know that you can pit. Can you opt not to put any fuel in during that pit stop?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So you can just take tires if you come in and make the pit stop rather than put the fuel in the car.
Yep, so that's what they're doing here. That's why they're not just hitting escape and going back in, taking some fresh tires and seeing if they could get some better laps in here at the end. The only thing is, by the end of the qualifying, traditionally, with it being 30 minutes, that's a long time, that the gains that drivers are finding tend to be a little bit minimal out here. So we'll see if anybody has anything for Chinichi at the very end of it. He's just completed another lap there, you see on screen, but he doesn't go any quicker than his 2:02.9. The only driver so far to break that 2:03 mark.
You're literally taking the words out of my mouth. I was going to make that comment that Chinichi is the only car in the 2:02 second bracket right now. We'll see if Dawan or Michael Bolton can step up and we see any other cars get sub 2:03 out there.
I was trying to figure out who that was we saw off the course there and over the barrier. Okay, so that was Jad Duncan, who I think he hit the pit entry is what happened. I was trying to figure out how someone got on the wrong side of the Armco somewhere, but Michael Johnson, thankfully on the right side, and this is looking like a flyer. He's about 4/10 quicker. He had a magnificent exit out of the second Degner there and picking up a lot of time. Can he keep this up? 5/10 quicker, I'm showing him tracking. He's finding quite a bit. That would still only put him up to, looks like about 5th place though. So he needs a massive improvement here.
Well, remember, Michael Johnson was one of those cars that we saw come down onto pit road, so he is working these fresh tires to his benefit right now. You see just in front of him, he actually has another car, Salehi, that he's going to have to navigate. I think that he's far enough out in front, it shouldn't affect Michael's lap time. If anything, he might actually be picking up a little bit of a slipstream, which would help him.
It's up to 7/10 quicker right now. He's 1.4 off the pole, so it's not going to be the fastest of anybody out here, but it's certainly going to launch him forwards if he can keep this up all the way to the finish. It cuts back to about 0.5 of a second. Not the best of entries, maybe, but a good exit, which is what he really needs as it launches down to the line. Hits the timing line, and it's a 2:03.6. That will put him up into 4th place. That's a massive improvement.
Well, you called it. He didn't go very aggressive into that Casio triangle, and I think that was a perfect execution from Michael because he was focused on that corner exit, maybe give up just a little bit going in order to maximize that exit.
Not seeing many of the front runners on an impressively good lap right now. A couple are hovering around a potential best time. But coming out of Spoon, we're going to watch the car of Marc Rondeau, who is currently sitting in 7th now that he's been bumped down by Michael Johnson by 1 position. Not showing him as having that great of a lap, unfortunately. So I think this might not be a quick one for him, and he'll have enough time for maybe 2 more if he hustles around the circuit.
Through that final chicane, known as that Casio Triangle, see if Rondeau is able to improve that lap time. No, 205.0, but like you said, Joe, he will be able to go out there, do a couple more laps, try to move up the board a couple spots.
It'll be just barely. He'll be one of the last ones to start a flyer, I believe. Jeff Groff is a newer driver, has had 2 races so far, around 7 and 8. And as he kind of tumbles over the curbs there at the Casio Triangle, he's tracking to maybe improve. It's going to be awful tight here. Let's see what it is as he crosses the line. No, not going to do it, unfortunately. So he'll stay in 9th position, but still a top 10. It's better points if you're above the top 10, basically 9th and up, get more. Everybody from 10th on down gets 2 points, and if you don't even complete enough laps to be considered classified, it's a single point for everybody that gets a DNF. What about Johnson here as he comes across the line? Another improvement, a 2:03.356, and that's going to put him on the front row ahead of Dewan.
A really nice lap, and actually he's getting the benefit of following Salehi right in front of him. Salehi actually moved inside the top 5 as well.
Now, we have to remember that Cigar here, who might be able to make an improvement. Nope, he is just shy of his best lap. He was our latest winner back at Fuji, beating out Michael Johnson. So the number 501 car going to try and follow that up, but he'll have to do it from 3rd unless he's got anything here on this last flying lap. Let's see if he can make it go any quicker as we watch the 11 of Rondeau up towards 130R. Once again, very close on whether or not he is going to have a quicker lap.
And, you know, he's flirting right on that edge and also jumping up over the curb there coming out of 130R. See if he's nice and clean, putting that power to the pavement. Looks like he might flirt with a little bit faster. All he needs is about a 10th or so to get in front of Jad Duncan right in front of him.
And looks like that one was not counted. He must have had an off track somewhere, but he did start the latest lap, so he's going to be the last to cross the line. If he continues on here, Mike Parsons could be the first to take the checkered flag, as he'll be 16th and no better because he does not improve on that lap. Up next is going to be Jeff Groff, who I don't see tracking to the good here.
No, he's going to come around, complete that lap, try to take away as much distance as possible to the line. And looking at other cars, this is our provisional pole sitter, Chinichi, actually coming through with a flyer right now.
And he's pulling along Michael Johnson, but I'm not showing Michael Johnson on a good lap here, so I don't think he can take the pole away. But can Chinichi embarrass him by extending it further than these 0.4 of a second? Oh, no, he's not going to, as he wrecks it out of the final turn. And we know that Michael Johnson's not going to improve here. So our top 2 looks like they may be locked in unless Cigar Dewan has something amazing. No, he botches the final corner.
Just too deep on the brakes going into that Casio Triangle. It's so easy to do, especially as the session is winding down. You're trying to get those last little inches out there.
So we've got Mike Parsons coming around, but I think he has already completed his lap. So, yep, that is it for everybody. Our order is set here for the penultimate round of the Porsche Owners Club Series. And Andrew Chinichi takes himself another pole position now that he has returned. But we haven't seen him win since round 5. Can he return to the top step and get his 2nd of the season? Michael Johnson looking for his 3rd win of the season. If he does so, he'll be the only driver to get the double points wins positions as we had the last one at round 6. Cigar Dewan will start from 3rd, and Michael Bolton will be in P4. Michael's been a very hard competitor for Michael Johnson. Bolton has been been a hard competitor for Johnson, I should say. And Bayan Salehi will start from 5th behind them. Jad Duncan will begin from P6. Then you've got the next row with Mark Rondeau starting 7th and Doug Baccignone in 8th. AJ Roper will begin from 9th spot as Jeff Groff will start from the top 10.
11th place, we have Jeff Schulem alongside in row 6 is BJ Fulton. Then we have Mark Bray and Larry Haas in 14th place. John Momeyer in 15th. Mike Parsons 16th. Then the final row, row 9, we have Mehmet Karasay and Michael Robin.
18 cars going to be taking to the track, and we'll see how many make it to the finish line, because this has certainly been a circuit that has proven difficult. Now, they do have 2 spare cars waiting for them, so if they do wind up into the wall, if they really want to try and finish the race and they find attrition is high, it might be worth it to try and stop into the pits, hop into that extra car, and get back out there and keep pushing. But we'll see if anybody does have to rely on that or not as they now get ready to grid up for the rolling start. Thankfully, won't be a full lap around this quite long circuit, and they'll start just before 1:30R.
Shortens it up nicely for us, doesn't it? But I think we've talked about how technical this racetrack is. One thing we haven't mentioned, though, is how narrow it can be. It's a good thing they do have some of those spare cars. We've seen in qualifying even our pole sitter lose it on the final corner. Some of the other cars also having issues, and trust me, I feel like maybe an elbow might come out here. A shove might put some cars out in the gravel this first lap.
Yeah, especially down into that first turn. It's kind of notorious for accidents happening, some very famous ones on the first laps of some of the races that have been here. As the drivers grid up, we're just waiting on Shinichi, and he's actually out there already. So now we need Roper and Fulton to wrap it up and get us going here, and looks like Roper will be the last one on the grid. Now, it is pretty good temperatures, a little cool, 77 Fahrenheit on the track surface itself, but not too cold, actually, and a little bit of wind. It's been wavering between 9 miles an hour and 11 miles an hour, Joey. They do have that big spoiler on the back, so I don't think they'll want it gusting too much.
No, probably not. I don't think the wind is going to affect them that much, but I'm curious to see how these Cup cars are going to race. Like I mentioned, we saw a couple of them lose it in qualifying, but it's race time now. It's time to buckle down. Let's show us your best stuff.
Johnson probably eager for a good finish here, trying to get himself a championship in the POC over his now regular rival of Tom Layton, but Andrew Chinichi came in and made a splash and has proved to be very, very fast, as he'll have control here, waiting for the call from the flag stand. A little bit of a stack up there behind. Thankfully, they have a while before the call usually gets made. And yeah, they're all going to be able to get gathered up here as they come onto the main straight. And there is the green flag. Chinichi's on the loud pedal. Cigar Dewan with a very good start down there, looking to the inside. Can he try and make a 2-for-1 as he thinks about 3 wide and then wisely backs out of it?
And Michael Johnson just barely clears the nose of Cigar, and then a little bit of contact there. I believe that's AJ Roper in that wall.
Looks like Michael Bolton actually in the 127. That is horrible news for him. He's been so quick lately, and that's going to put him on the back foot. How high can he try and climb back up in this only 30-minute race? But otherwise, it's clean down to the S's. Someone going very wide there in the background. That may have been Momeyer there for a brief moment in the number 6, but they're heading into Dunlop Curve as Chinichi leads the way.
I believe Bolton is the only car that went off track so far. Chinichi, Johnson, Darwin, Salehi, Rondeau is your top 5 through the Degner curves for the first time, heading down into the hairpin. Potential passing opportunity coming up.
Looks a little too far back for Johnson this time, though. He's going to have to try again a little bit later. He's trying to hold on to the back of Chinichi. I got to think some of those slower corners, this is going to be a difficult car to try and mind those rear wheels, Joey.
It can be tough. You got to keep track of those rear tires. You got to take care of them. early on because you need them there for the end of the race. And trust me, if you start abusing your equipment out there, it's not going to be there when you need it the most.
As Shinichi climbs up towards 130R, it's already up to 0.6 ahead of Michael Johnson. Is he worried about trying to keep Shinichi back here? Because remember, he's a long ways back, and I think mathematically out of it at this stage with only 60 points available. Yeah, he is actually, now that I do the math in my head there. So he's not really his rival at this stage, but he could take those valuable extra 10 points away from him. And he might need those when it comes to the last round to try and hold Leighton back. But for now, Shinichi will lead the first lap, Johnson second, Cigar to one, and then you got a bit of a gap down to fourth with Salehi.
Yeah, look at that train down the front straightaway. Impressive racing from this field. And Joe, to touch on that point there, are you telling me Michael Johnson, a racing car driver, he's going to use his head out there rather than go for the win?
He's always been a little bit more of a cerebral driver.
He is. He's very smart out there.
So, but that's the thing, though, is I think he still needs to try and go for that win. Yes, the 30 points for second would be great, but 40 would be even better and put him a lot harder out of reach of Tom Leighton. So he's got to try his darndest here as he plows down through into the Degners once again. And I will have to do a little bit of math here to see what the double points will affect on this, as Salehi had a bit of an off here into Degner 2, but it looks like he only falls to ninth and he keeps going.
Yeah, no contact. It was out of the first. Degner, he got loose and out onto the gravel trap, but you called it. No contact, and he's able to keep going right now. He finds himself behind Jeff Groff in ninth position.
Okay, so, as we got cars off, 3 cars with issues. Not sure what happened. I recognize Molmeyer in there. And it looks like Robin and Mike Parsons. Now, I'm not sure if that's involving each other. I was looking away, so I don't know if we saw an incident on screen.
It was not on screen, but it looks like Robin and I believe it was Mike Parsons. Robin got into Parsons in the hairpin, then I believe a third car came in and spun on his own.
Yep, and there you see it right there. And yeah, Molmeyer maybe just a little bit put off by the incident in front of him. So actually, I have to redact some of what I've said about the points here. Is we're going to get another angle on things. Just plows into the side of him. Unfortunately, takes both of them out. If Johnson finishes in second or first, he clinches because it's only 20 points for the win in the final round. So this unusual situation where they have double points in this one means that Johnson can go from second to first and wrap it up tonight.
Well, keep your calculator out, right? Put that eraser button right on those calculator, because Darwin's about to take second place away from Michael Johnson. What if there's a third for him tonight?
Well, what happens then is that Leighton has a small chance, but he needs a win and he needs Johnson to essentially to DNF or get only 2 points. So it'll be a tough one for Leighton, but you know, we've seen stranger things, and we've seen Michael Johnson choke sometimes when it comes down to the last moments when things are really on the line. So don't count anything out here. He's got to fight Dewan to try and keep this second place.
So I believe the phrase goes, so you're saying there's a chance.
Exactly, as Baccignone, unfortunately, finding out that he's facing the wrong way here at the hairpin, eventually gets it turned around, and he'll get it going. Not sure if he had help to get into that position, but we've seen a couple incidents now into the hairpin. That looks like it is going to be a trouble zone. Checking back in a little bit farther down, though, as they exit off of Spoon Curve. This is Roper versus Duncan for fifth.
Coming up to 130R here. AJ's going to show the nose. Not really a passing opportunity into 130R. More leads into the Casio triangle, but you see, really had to back off from that aero wash from the car in front of him. He would kind of exit. They can get out of this chicane here. And right now, Jad Duncan hitting his marks, fending off AJ Roper.
Roper didn't have a good one last time out, unfortunately, and No, excuse me. No, he had a really good one, I should say. He wound up 4th last time out after he hadn't been in all season. Right now, not quite that high, but who knows? If he can manage to overtake Jad Duncan, he'll be looking at another top 5 potentially here. So keep an eye on that number 07, because he could be a little bit of a threat considering he made his way well on his return. Without needing to shake the rust off too much. And he's certainly applying the pressure on Jad here.
He is, and I feel like that's really what you have to do at Suzuka. Not very many passing opportunities unless you're really up there alongside your competitor. So sometimes what you have to find yourself doing is going up there and just applying as much pressure as possible, force them into a mistake, and then take away that position.
Yep, you can afford to play a little patient here. 30 minutes is still going to be, I think, about 14 laps around here. So he'll have time. We're only on lap 4 right now. And he could try and just wait to see what he can crack out of that number 83. He's also not that far behind Marc Rondeau in front of him. So unless Rondeau really starts to skip away, I don't think he needs to hustle at this stage.
I agree with you. And you said if he had P4 last time out, AJ Roper easily can get that 4th place position, especially if he's able to clear Jad Duncan. Like you said, Rondeau, not very far up the road.
What if we could give some love to Michael Bolton after he had his spin there in the first couple corners? He's back up to 11th, so he's doing decently. He's got about 3 seconds to catch up to Jeffrey Shulam, who he's about 2 seconds a lap faster than. So he's probably going to get him sooner rather than later. And it's becoming a question of how high up into the top 10 can he actually make it here.
Well, if you want to talk about the 127 here, you're right. He's doing an amazing job. He was 4 seconds behind the field at the end of lap 1. Now knocking on the door to the top 10, and you look at his lap times. His lap times are competitive with the top 4 I'm seeing out there. So, yeah, a very fast driver.
I was telling you, he and Michael Johnson have been working together a lot, and even Johnson has been telling me that that Bolton has become a genuine threat to his racing, which he still relishes. He's not mad about it. He's proud of his protege, if you will, in the way he's been just plugging away and managing to find incredible pace and the time that he's worked with Michael Johnson. But Cigar Dewan is now become the threat to Michael Johnson and his hopes for a championship. Again, even if he finishes in 3rd, it's still very much in favor of Michael Johnson as long as Tom Layton can show up to the last round. But it still leaves a crack of the door open for Tom Layton. And frankly, I would not leave anything to chance with Tom.
Well, I haven't seen a bunch of these races, but I look at the results sheet, and you're right, Joe. It's just filled with the top step of the podium when Tom shows up. So, Michael, get on out there, keep securing the 2nd place position, but Dewan has been right there applying the pressure, and here's Michael slipping up just a little bit coming out of Spoon. You saw the tail end wag. Loose car right now.
And we've had an incident with Mimic Karasay and Doug Boccignone. It was a strange one. That was really tight. We'll have to get to that incident a little bit later because things are heating up now between Johnson and Dewan, starting to poke his nose in some risky places.
Well, and I really felt like that opportunity came from Michael Johnson making a mistake out of that Spoon curve. Dewan was right there to capitalize, and it leads to that technical part of the racetrack that you just got to force them into a little bit of a bigger mistake.
I think we've got a chance here because not close enough for passing to turn 1, and it's rare you see overtakes in the S's, so this gives us an opportunity. So a little bit of an off here for Karasay there in the blue and black, and he gets back onto the course. Now there's 2 drivers approaching him, and he gets back up to speed, but weirdly, and I'm trying to figure out who this is, the yellow car, he has an off, but doesn't hit him. Karasay just kind of goes wide, and it's Doug Boccignone who comes piling in and winding up taking both of them out.
A little bit of an odd set of circumstances, right? You got cars checking up, cars kind of coming in at pace, and Boccignone coming in at a full speed, and It was a mess, Joe.
Really was. That was Robin, who had a bit of an off there going in, thankfully did not run into him. And Mike Parsons was the car that nearly got taken out in all that. He's up to 15th, a gain of 1 from where he started this race. And here we're checking in on that battle heading down up towards Spoon Curve between AJ Roper and Jad Duncan. Roper still stuck in 6th, has not been able to overtake him. And Rondo is starting to creep away from them. So wonder if we're going to see the 07 start to put a little bit more pressure on.
Good exit from Jad Duncan out of Spoon Curve. It's one of the trickiest turns in all of motorsports. It's just such an odd shape, and you got to tighten the wheel throughout the entire time, slow down, speed up. It's a handful every time you go through it. And I know that from experience in the sim, I can never drive that thing right.
I always feel like I'm getting something wrong there. By the way, Bolton did crack into the top 10. He just overtook Jeff Schulem. So next on his list, BJ Fulton, about a second up the road as we continue to follow these two down the front stretch here in the land of the rising sun, where the sun is currently setting, ironically. And Roper, unfortunately, not able to overtake down into turn 1 this time, but still staying right on top of that rear wing of Jad Duncan.
Kind of the golden hour on the racetrack. And I know they got that big Ferris wheel. It'd be pretty cool to be up in that Ferris wheel watching this race right now. But look at AJ Roper really starting to apply the pressure through the S's here. I think this is as close as he's been to Jad Duncan now through Dunlop.
Yeah, we're getting to halfway through the race, so I wonder if he's just going to kick it up a little bit of a notch and maybe start to attempt some moves here. If not, just sit ever closer behind that black and yellow car down to the braking of Degner 2. A little bit too far away this time. So not sure if he'll see anything. Oh, maybe not. That was a great exit. He's coming up to him here towards the hairpin, but a big defense down to the inside, and lockup from Roper is not going to get him the spot. In fact, he loses a number of car lengths.
Yeah, you saw him have to get hard on the brakes there. I think there was a great defense from Jad Duncan. No double move. He just put his car right in the middle of the racetrack, and it just goes to show you how narrow it really is.
I always thought that was such a sketchy place to try and make a move. You need a lot of trust that that driver ahead is not going to defend, because you don't really have much chance to change your line if you try and attack.
You commit to one side or the other, and you're right. You do have to trust the other driver, because if he makes a move, you're already committed.
So they're going to stay in order as here we go. Things getting a little interesting between Brian Soleil and Jeff Groff. We haven't been talking about these guys. They're on reverse trajectories. Groff up 3, Soleil down 3. Both going a little bit deep into the corner. Groff more so. Soleil could get a better exit, but no, it's not on the cards.
Yeah, and Soleil, I wonder if he's struggling a little bit. You see he's down 3 positions like you mentioned, and Jeff Groff going up by him. Soleil's going to have to watch in the mirror, because Michael Bolton's going to be approaching pretty soon as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, he's already overtaken BJ Fulton. So Bolton sets his sights forward, doing a great job on this recovery, honestly. He's only 5 down from where he started now. So he is coming back with quite a bit of class on this drive, not letting that opening incident frazzle him, and just steadily picking them off one by one. Groff and Salehi now down through the snake and into Dunlop, where you really want to try and get the launch here without dipping a tire into the gravel, but it's a slow run for Groff, and he's going to lift and let Salehi through.
Yeah, well, Jeff Groff had a huge loose moment. He's still loose right now, trying to collect the car. And Joe, I think he overheated the rear tires. He got out onto the marbles, and he just didn't have any grip. He's still trying to collect the car.
Oof, seems like those tires just do not like it when you abuse them too much, and now he's paying the price. Since that is separated, that's meant that a lot of our battles have kind of come apart. Wonder if we could check in on Shinichi here, since we haven't turned the cameras on him in a while. And he's got about a 5.5 second gap over Michael Johnson. So now that we've actually done the proper math, we know that Johnson doesn't need that win over Andrew, although it certainly would make life a little bit easier for him instead of fighting with Cigar de Juan. But for now, Chinichi kind of has free reign up at the front with none of that purple number 9 putting any pressure on him.
You could look at this two ways, that you can turn off your rear view mirror, turn off all your black boxes, and just enjoy yourself turning laps out there. Or it can kind of be a boring race, too, if you think about it, Joe. With nobody to race, sometimes it can be a lonely race out front.
Yeah, that's true. It depends on the type of racer. I always think about Ove Trangrade and some of the other series we cover, who will intentionally let up because he doesn't want those boring races and he wants to fight for the win. But right here, I'm sure Michael Johnson is enjoying the fighting. But again, with a championship on the line, I'm wondering what's really going through that head right now. Is he wishing he could be a little farther away from Dewan? He's actually gapped him slightly more than what we've seen a few laps ago. It's been as high as 0.8 of a second. So I do think he's pushing to try and keep himself a little farther away from that 5:01.
And being just halfway, or just past halfway through the race, the cars are definitely burning fuel off, and some drivers like it when the car is light on fuel. Some drivers prefer the balance when it's heavy on fuel. And curious to see, there has been that accordion effect between Michael and Cigar in this battle. Sometimes Dewan has a faster lap, and you see Michael actually have a little bit of trouble in the hairpin right there, and that closes the 5:01 right back up into the battle.
Oh, yeah, that's uncomfortably close, unfortunately. He's got to be careful to get a good exit off of Spoon, does Michael Johnson, or else Dewan could try and use the slipstream here. Let's see what happens out of this double left-hander. It just keeps going and going as it drops downhill now and heads towards the backstretch. That is a pretty decent exit, so I think he should be somewhat safe here, at least up to 130R. We'll see what the chicane holds, the final chicane, as they approach 130R first. Can he manage to be a little bit quicker? Yes, he can. And Dewan is not going to have the shot. You know, you talked about the fuel, Joey, and this is kind of Porsches are such unusual cars, and that they've got the fuel on the front. So, I mean, I would think that it makes it a little bit understeery as the race goes on.
It all depends on the setup. It really just all depends on the setup, and then it also depends on how aggressive you are in the beginning half. Are you really working the front tires, or are you relying on the back half of the car to make the turns? But you're right. The fuel tank is in the front of the car. However, it is over the front axle. So it's not too far out of shape from a normal car. It just is the other way around.
Exactly. So I mean, these guys, it's the Porsche Owners Club, so they're used to the idiosyncrasies of a Porsche. But hopefully, whoa, as things get a little tight here, and that was a big look from Cigar.
It was. He was right on the back of Michael Johnson and poked his nose on the inside of Dunlop. Not usually a passing opportunity, and thankfully no contact made. But I think that actually Michael Johnson might be starting to struggle a little bit, because even with that mistake, Dewan is still right with him.
Oh, and we've had an incident right here with Bolton and Salehi, but it started with Jeff Groff, unfortunately. It was Groff that well, no, actually it started with Salehi. I take that back. Salehi was the one that got loose, and Groff wound up running into him. And unfortunately for Bolton, he kind of wound up collected. Now, he didn't make a hard hit, but he is back down to 9th position behind Shulam. There you can see Salehi just getting all out of shape, and unfortunately, Bolton didn't pick the right side.
No, it's so unfortunate there for Michael Bolton. And actually, I think we had just out on the outside of the racetrack. And Joe, not only once you get out there, but there's all the marbles on the outside of Dunlop too. So even if you save it, it still just kind of continues to slide on you.
Yeah, that was always going to have trouble written all over it, unfortunately. I'll keep an eye on his lap times to see if that damage has hurt him. But the attention returns to second place. Can Johnson lock this up, or is Cigar Dewan going to force this to go to the final round to decide our champion? Johnson still far enough ahead that Cigar cannot make the pass here into turn 1 this lap. Down to less than 10 minutes left to go. Probably 4 laps left in this.
We got to remember, this is the area of the racetrack where Cigar has been very fast in compared to Michael Johnson. So see if this keeps up here this lap. Looks like Michael Johnson doing a great job keeping the nose nice and tight through the snake. Let's see how he does through Dunlop. Remember, some of these cars starting to slide out wide here.
Certainly looking like it's difficult keeping that throttle down. There's a lot of power in these Cup cars. Incredible straight line speeds. They're actually faster than the GT3 cars, and I believe slightly faster than the GTE cars in a straight line, if you get it long enough straight. So they have some get up and go underneath them. Coming down to the hairpin, another little peak, but that definitely wasn't a legitimate move from Dewan. I think he's just trying to continue to distract that 9 car.
Not only that, but just have a nice clear sight line to your apex. That hairpin is one of those corners that you can kind of enter from the outside, you can kind of enter from the inside. It's really all about just putting the power down coming out of it. So maybe Cigar just trying to get a nice visual here as they come out of Spoon. Looks like both of them hitting their marks pretty good right now.
Indeed, and that's going to put them about equidistant apart. So I don't know if Dewan will really have a chance to try and attack him into the Casio triangle. Let's stick with it to see what's going to happen here. Yeah, I think he's a little too far behind at this stage to try and make a dive on him that time, although he continues to just poke a little bit outside of the racing line, probably getting that clean air, like you mentioned, that clean sight line, and back onto the front stretch they go.
And Michael doing a great job. You can tell he's a professional driver. He's just not fazed by what's going on in the mirror. Despite Dewan poking his nose, he has respect. He knows how close he is, and he knows when he can close that door.
Looks like we missed the pass that we were looking for quite some time, as AJ Roper, trying to figure out where, has finally gotten past Jad Duncan. So that cracks the top 5 for him.
They actually flip-flop back and forth, maybe a few turns. Nice little battle between them. But I'm curious, because you said AJ Roper finished 4th that last round out. They were all the way back 2.5, almost 3 seconds behind Mark Rondeau. And now that AJ Roper's got some clean air, throwing down some pretty fast lap times.
Yeah, he might put a little bit of a threat in the mind of Mark Rondeau. Let's see if he's got enough laps left here. We'll keep an eye on those lap times. As for Bolton, does look like his last lap was a 2:04 flat, which is pretty close to his regular times. Wow, contact between Johnson and Dewan as they head into the hairpin, but Johnson holds on to it and Dewan backs out.
I was not expecting that one. I don't think Michael Johnson was expecting that one either, but Cigar Dewan throwing it in there, got it slowed up, just a little bit of a love tap to the back bumper of Michael Johnson. I tell you what, if the number 9 wasn't expecting to pass, he sure should be now.
Absolutely, and fair play is a big part of this community. This is a very tight-knit group that races together, not just here in iRacing, but in the real world. They race cars together, so there's a lot of respect between them, and I think Cigar knew that that one was not on. I think once he saw that he had lifted the rear up of Johnson, he definitely was trying to let him get a chance to collect it.
But look at this. His pace is very good. Cigar Dewan I'm talking about. He's already caught Michael Johnson again. He's applying the pressure down the front straightaway. Let's see if he's close enough to make a move into turn 1. This is as close as he's ever been. Michael going defensive side by side. Light on the brakes. Michael's going to hang on.
There's a bit of that Pruitt fade there out of Michael Johnson. There was a very slow edge over to the inside, but fair enough. And Dewan is not able to make the overtake. The laps continue to tick down, and the pressure gets more and more on Michael Johnson. He definitely wants his second place. He's had 2 in a row before this one, and this would seal the deal. If you're just joining us, he will be our confirmed champion if he gets this second place.
Well, and if he knows that, he's just got to hang on. And what do you do if Cigar Dewan throws it down the inside of the hairpin again? Because here we go through the second Degner curve. Does he get that run? Looks like he's not quite as close as he was last lap.
I'd say if he throws it down the inside, you make sure that car gets to the finish. The last thing Johnson needs right here is a DNF to throw away a valuable point stay and give Tom Layton even more of an in. That third place will still do a good job for him, but he's having to deal with a lot mentally out here. Cigar Dewan not making life easy by any stretch, as he's once again going to send it in, and he does get into the side of him.
Oh, turns Michael Johnson, but look at the sportsmanship here. Cigar Dewan parking it on the racetrack, but here comes our next battle here. Now Mark Rondeau and AJ Roper are involved.
Oh, it's become a 4-car fight for second place. This is awful news for Michael Johnson. He might actually lose that P2 right here as Rondeau manages to sneak up the inside and behind him, almost making contact a couple of those cars. And it looks like Rondeau was able to sneak through. Roper almost pushed Dewan off the circuit. He's going to try and attack for third as well. And Michael Johnson, no dice. We come down to, I believe, 2 laps to go here.
Yeah, Michael Johnson now in the third place position. And look at this, AJ Roper, he's going to make a move. He's been the only car in the 203s other than our leader. Now he's to the inside of Michael Johnson. Who's going to break the latest?
Looks like Roper might have it, and he does. Johnson now down to 4th. Nightmare scenario for the number 9. He desperately needs to make some passes and fast here. He's already looking into the S's, but nothing doing.
So unfortunate for Michael Johnson, but look, you still got another lap and a half remaining. Keep up on the wheel. You can go get some more points.
They weave their way through the snake. He's still got Cigar Dewan back there, and we know he's been quick. He could demote him yet another position. Michael could wind up with 5th place, and I got to figure out how much that's worth. I think it's worth 8 points, if I'm remembering correctly, on a normal weekend. So that'd be 16 points. That's not going to put him all that far ahead of Tom Layton. That'll still make life very difficult if Tom has a fast final race, if he can show. Down into the hairpin, still no passes made, as Roper might be able to get himself his first podium of the season here.
Joe, this is great. Rondeau all the way back to Duncan. This is 5 cars, all fighting for a podium here at Suzuka.
Hasn't been since round 4 at Road America that Rondeau has been on the podium. This is going to be an important one for him. And that one was a 3rd place. This will be his best finish of the season if he can keep this up and stay in P2. Ahead of them all, they had slowed each other up so much. Shinichi's already taken the white flag.
Down the front straight is our leader, but I got my eye on AJ Roper. He's going to potentially go side by side with Rondeau through the Casio Triangle. Joe, this number 07 car has been the fastest car on the racetrack.
I wonder if Johnson got a little bit of damage too, because it looks like that car is struggling a bit. He cannot keep up with them, and they are running away as they battle, as Rondeau covers the inside down into the first turn, but doesn't really need to. Roper's not close enough.
No, and let's see what kind of exit they get. Michael Johnson now all over the back of AJ Roper as they accelerate off a turn 2, heading through the snake. Only a couple more passing opportunities. I'm primarily looking towards the hairpin this lap.
That is where it certainly could explode here. We'll see who is willing to risk it at this stage. These drivers not in the championship hunt at all. This is all about good results for them, trying to do what they can at the end of the season to try and get themselves some podium finishes, to spray the champagne. And Roper is all over him, but just can't find an opening as Mark Rondeau takes it way deep into the first Degner, but he manages it well and actually pulls away from AJ.
Yeah, Roper a little bit slow through the second Degner, maybe expecting Rondeau to maybe have to gather up the car a little bit more than what he does. And all 4 or 5 cars even. You see Dewan maybe a little bit wide, but doesn't lose any track position. I think the only left passing opportunity is going to be going into the Casio Triangle for any one of these cars.
Absolutely. It's at best going to be a 3rd place for Johnson if he can even make a pass, unless those 2 in front of him come together. Just doesn't seem like it's on the cards here today. So unless something crazy crazy happens. I don't think it's going to be wrapped up tonight, but for Andrew Chinichi, he's going to get his first win since round 5 as he crosses the line and takes the checkered flag.
Impressive stuff from Chinichi, over 20 seconds, and this pack of 5 not close enough unless somebody locks up a break or loses it coming out. Michael Johnson actually a little bit offline. This might open the door for Cigar Dewan.
Marc Rondeau will get his second podium of the season, AJ Roper his first, and Johnson barely squeaks through in 4th place to collect 20 points. He will be our points leader, but this is going to be interesting going into the final round as we race side by side to the line between Michael Bolton and Jeff Shulam. Michael only able to bring himself to 8th. That might have actually put him out of the championship hunt.
Unfortunate for Michael Bolton out there. We saw a couple of those problems earlier on in the race, and I believe this is Doug Baccioni out here with Michael Robon. Heading into the spoon curve, these two are actually fighting for position.
The last one's racing on track right now, as Baccioni has been having a bit of a rough one out there, but he looks very strong off of spoon. This is going to give him a magnificent run, but a late defense. Can he find the space? Yes, he does.
That was a big block from Robon out there. Baccioni still to driver's left, approaching 130R, both on the brakes side by side. Space given, Baccioni clear. Is he going to hang on to the brakes? Contact between the two.
Oh, both go off into the wall. Who can limp it back home in time? As carrying on, Michael has got the car moving. It's a Senna-Prost scenario here. The car, it is not looking good shape. In fact, he has a black flag. He's going to get a time penalty at the end of this. Baccioni does not. If he crosses soon enough, he'll still finish ahead of Michael. And we'll find out, I think, yes, he will finish ahead as Robon will get the penalty and Baccioni gets promoted to 13th. What a bizarre finish there. That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Suzuka. That was quite the finish. We were not expecting it to wind up like that. But Andrew Chinichi kind of had the track to himself up at the front. It wound up 21 seconds, the gap between himself and Marc Rondeau, who might be a little bit shocked, I think, going from 7th to 2nd today. AJ Roper doing a fantastic job, coming in only his 2nd race of this season. He has raced in the series before, but he returns and manages a podium at the 2nd try. Michael Johnson only going to finish 4th today. He will be in the points lead, but Tom Layton is still mathematically in it. Cigar Dewan was 5th as Jad Duncan finished 6th and BJ Fulton was 7th. And it was Michael Bolton who unfortunately got spun around on the very first lap and then had further problems later on getting collected in an incident, only got 8th place as Jeffrey Shulam was 9th and Mark Bray rounds out your top 10.
Larry Haas here in 11th place. Mike Parsons in 12th. Doug Baccioni, who we saw there at the end, comes home 13th. Mehmet Karasay, 14th. Michael Robon in 15th with that last corner incident there. And then you got a couple cars with some issues, multiple laps down. Bayan Salehi, Jeff Groff, and John Momeyer.
And that's going to take us to our winner, Andrew Chinichi, who had this one pretty well under control, it felt like, from our perspective. He did see the cars relatively close behind him early on, but once they started battling, it was just his for the taking. Andrew, you come back, and it looks like you've answered pretty well, getting a win here for double points. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. It was yeah, pretty seamless night. Yeah, it feels really good.
Now, I know you had to skip a few here, and obviously that puts you mathematically out of the hunt for the championship, but you could still potentially catch a few guys here at the end as we head off into the last round at Motegi. Are you going to be able to make that, and as your goal to just take another of those wins?
Yeah, I'm hoping to make that. Hopefully doing a real race that weekend. So I don't know how much practice I'll get. But yeah, I'm gonna try to be there and try to do my best.
And the other question is, this being a bit of a unique year for POC, doing two championships of 12 races each. So we're going to double up. Will you be back for the next season? And are you going to be able to commit to a few more races to try and put a bigger challenge onto Tom?
Yeah, I'm pretty committed for the whole year. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying myself. I'll just keep trying my best. I know that we're going to switch cars, so that should be a cool challenge. But yeah, I'm really enjoying them, and I'm gonna keep doing them as long as I can.
Well, again, congratulations. That was an impressive drive up at the front. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, Streamline, Photo Workshop Adventures, Titan Pacific Law, Create Emotion, and Ken Wong, DDS. Everyone has really helped me out over the last year, just in my personal life, my professional life, sim racing, everything. So I wouldn't be here without them. And of course, my lovely girlfriend, Rose.
Beautiful stuff there from Andrew Chinichi, your winner here today at Suzuka, the penultimate round of the season. Up next, though, Joey's caught up with Mark Rondeau, who's probably grinning ear to ear.
Mark, congratulations on your second place finish here at Suzuka.
Thank you. I had a lot of help to get there.
Well, don't sell yourself short here. I mean, you started 7th. You went up 5 positions, and I know that you found yourself with a couple cars out a spoon curve, but you took advantage of it all.
Well, I was a little opportunistic there, and just happy I was able to make the run down there and get ahead of Johnson. But it was a fun race. I can't say I'm not still shaking and sweating.
Talk to me about that, because it seemed like you had a mirror full of AJ Roper for the last half of the race. How did you fend him off?
It's so hard to pass here. I just tried to put myself in the right position in the 2 or 3 places where you can try to make a pass and let the rest of it take care of itself. I wasn't going to fight too hard. I just didn't want to crash. I wanted to stay up in the top 4 or 5. And it worked out for me.
Well, it did work out for you, and this is your second podium this year. What does this mean for you?
I'm going to try to build on it. Looking forward to the last race, and then next season when we jump into a different car, some different tracks, and see if I can do a little better with that. But it's been fun. It's such a great group. POC is an amazing organization. And our sim club's a lot of fun, and having you guys broadcast the races is just, one of my favorite things is to go back and watch the replays with your commentary on it. It's great.
Well, Mark, thank you very much for the kind words. You're one of the biggest movers today, up 5 positions. And before we let you go, anybody you want to say hi to?
I want to say hi to my mom and dad. They always watch. My girlfriend Alicia, and I want to thank POC and GSRC, as well as 911sg.com and Shaved Monkey Racing.
Well, that was Mark Rondeau coming home with his second podium this season of 2nd place at Suzuka.
which is going to wrap up our interview. So we want to give a big thank you ourselves to our sponsors, which includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Contact them today at GameChangerBR.com or at 225-664-2565. Thanks to the team today, Joey, Zach, and Dougie. And make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The finale is going to be at Motegi on Monday, June 5th at 11 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.